first half of this Dimecast, we started our Dr. Dimecast application. We set up a master detail project, imported a list of objects, and loaded them into the table view on the master view. In the second half of this episode, we're going to implement being able to select an item in the table view and be taken to the corresponding detail information on the detail view. If you haven't seen the first part of this episode, check it out. Also be sure to check out the GitHub link in the notes to get the code that goes along with this episode. Here we go. So let's go back to our storyboard. You notice the detail, they put one in here for you here, but we need some place to put our detail. So if we come down here to the bottom right hand corner, make sure we're on our object library. I'm going to grab 5 labels. Put them on the screen. Okay, so now we have 5 labels. While we have this view controller selected, we're going to pull up our assistant editor. And we need to make outlets for each one of those labels. So just like we did before, we're going to hold down Control, click, drag, and this first one is going to be called, let's call them episode title. Click and drag. Episode number. Writer name. Doctor name. And synopsis. Okay, so again we have properties, weak and non-atomic, IB outlets because they're wired over here to the storyboard, their UI labels, and then here are the names. Ready for us to work. You notice in the detail view controller now, one of the first things it does, so let's take a look just at the detail view controller, is it has a set detail item, and then it passes an id, which, or ID, whichever one, however you say it. So any object here can be this new item. In this case, we know what it's going to be. So we're going to import our DCN episode. And then we're going to go in the detail. And it's got a property for this detail item. But in this case, again, in actuality, I'm going to get rid of the other header because it should be here. So we have our detail item, detail description label. We don't need this anymore. It's not part of our plan. Okay, so now we're going to come in here, make that DCN episode. We're going to set, okay, so set detail item. I'm going to call this episode. And we're going to go back and define this in the header now that I've settled on a signature. So first thing we're going to do is we're not going to run this code even if they pass the same episode as before. They're not even going to worry about it. And then as long as we've got a new episode, we're going to configure the view. So configure view means here's where we're actually going to do some updating. So in this case, so we're going to set this episode title dot text is going to equal episode or detail item dot episode title. And I'm just going to go ahead and fast forward to get all the rest of these in. There, okay? Now, I have to make another change to our storyboard. This label, in order for it to show multiple lines, we're going to come in here. We're going to change that line from 1 to 0 so that it figures it out for itself. The mode, instead of left, we're going to call it top left. Instead of truncating, we're going to word wrap here on line breaks. All right, now we go back to the master view controller and we're going to look at this segue. So in our storyboard, this movement from one view to another is called a segue. And we notice up here, it's a push segue. So in this navigation view controller, you can think about it like a stack. So we're just pushing this new view controller onto the stack. And when we go back, we're going to pop it off of the stack. This segue has a name, show detail. This new view controller is where we're going. This is the destination. This is the origin and the destination. So we look in the master. Here's the segue. We're saying if the segue we're calling, because perhaps you have several possible screens to go from A to B or A to C. So in this case, which one are we talking about? Okay, we're doing the show detail segue as we defined. All right, let's go grab the index path off the table view. So which row have we selected? Now we're going to come in here and we're going to work with the object. Grab it right out of that list. Grab index path.row. That's our episode. The segue's destination view controller, what about it? We're going to set the detail item, and that detail item is now an episode. All right. It's time to test. Okay, again, we have our 6 episodes. We'll click Dalek. We have the episode title, the number, the writer, the doctor, and a synopsis of the episode. We can click to go back. Vincent and the doctor. Again, you see the data has changed. That's it for this time. So we've looked at how you would create a master and detail view in iOS, using a table view, using segues. We've seen a little bit about how objects function in Objective-C, and we've seen more in depth how to create properties and methods on our own classes. Until next time.